The Christmas lights strung across the living room ceiling cast red and green shadows across the divorce papers that Nathan Bradford had just slapped onto the marble kitchen counter. They landed between the champagne flutes and the cheese board, right next to the leather portfolio containing documents that would make his wife, Elena Morrison Bradford, one of the most powerful pharmaceutical executives in America. Documents he knew nothing about. Elena was 8 months pregnant, her hand instinctively moving to protect her swollen belly as she stared at the papers with her name printed in cold, official typeface. Outside, December snow fell heavy and silent over their Connecticut estate, while inside, 75 guests, Nathan's colleagues, his parents, his sister, mingled in the living room at their annual Christmas Eve party, completely unaware that their host was about to destroy his marriage in the kitchen. "Sign it now," Nathan said, his voice low and commanding in that tone he used when closing deals at his investment firm. The tone that used to make Elena feel safe, protected. Now it just sounded cruel. Behind him, standing in the doorway with a hand pressed dramatically to her flat stomach, was Veronica Chen. 26 years old, stunning in a red dress that cost more than most people's monthly rent, Nathan's executive assistant, who'd been at every late meeting, every weekend conference, every business trip for the past 8 months. The same 8 months Elena had been pregnant. "Nathan, I don't understand." Elena's voice came out hoarse, strangled. Her other hand gripped the counter for balance, her body suddenly feeling too heavy, too vulnerable, too exposed. "It's Christmas Eve. We have guests. I'm about to have your baby. That's exactly why we need to do this now." He crossed his arms over his chest, and Elena recognized the stance. It was his negotiation posture. Firm, immovable, already decided. Clean break, fresh start. You get the weekend to figure things out, and by Monday, I want you out of this house. The house. Their house. The 6-bedroom colonial in Westport that they'd bought together 5 years ago, where they'd planned to raise children, where Elena's mother had spent her final months before the cancer took her 6 months ago, where Elena had spent the last year rebuilding her mother's pharmaceutical company in secret, working 18-hour days while Nathan thought she was just doing some consulting work from home. "I know about Veronica," Elena said quietly, her eyes moving to the woman in the doorway. "I've known for months." Veronica's perfectly painted lips curved into something that might have been a smile or might have been a snarl. It was hard to tell. "Then you won't be surprised to know that I'm pregnant too. And Nathan's choosing his future over his past." The words hit like a physical blow. Elena's knees buckled slightly, and she had to grip the counter harder to stay upright. "You're pregnant?" 12 weeks, Veronica said, stepping into the kitchen now, her heels clicking on the Italian tile that Elena had spent weeks choosing. "We're having a boy. Nathan's always wanted a son." Elena looked at her husband. The man she'd married 7 years ago, the man who'd held her while she cried about her mother's diagnosis, the man whose child was currently kicking inside her, and saw a stranger. Cold, calculated, already gone. "Nathan, please," her voice cracked. "We can talk about this after the party, after Christmas, after the baby comes. Please don't do this now." "I'm doing you a favor," he said, and he actually seemed to believe it. "Prolonging this would be cruel. You'll understand eventually. This is better for everyone." Elena's phone, sitting on the counter next to the divorce papers, buzzed. A text from Marcus Chen, her COO, and the only person who knew the full scope of what she'd accomplished in the past year. "Elena, they're ready to sign. The senator's office wants to video call in 15 minutes. This is it. $900. You did it. 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, She was supposed to be on a video call with Senator Patricia Morrison, no relation, though they joked about it, and the Secretary of Health and Human Services, signing the largest government pharmaceutical contract in a decade. A contract for Morrison Pharmaceutical's breakthrough cancer treatment that Elena had personally shepherded through FDA approval while Nathan thought she was just keeping busy during her pregnancy. A contract that would make her not just rich, but powerful, influential, untouchable. The joint account, Nathan continued, pulling out his phone and showing her the banking app. I transferred everything this morning, $47,000. It's going toward the wedding. Elena stared at the screen showing lines where their savings used to be. The money they'd saved for the baby's nursery, for emergencies, for their future. Gone. Stolen. Moved into an account she had no access to. You can't do that, she whispered. That's illegal. It's smart business, he interrupted. The prenup you signed protects my assets. This way, there's nothing to fight over. Clean and simple. The prenup, the one his mother had insisted on before their wedding. The one that kept his modest trust fund and investment accounts separate. The prenup that Elena had signed without a second thought because she'd never cared about his money. The prenup that would now protect her $900 million contract and the pharmaceutical empire worth another $200 million that Nathan knew nothing about. You need to leave, Veronica said, her voice sharp now, losing the fake sympathy. The guests are starting to ask questions. We don't want to ruin Christmas for everyone. Elena looked at her. This woman wearing her lipstick shade, standing in her kitchen, carrying what might be her husband's child, and felt something cold and hard crystallize in her chest. Not quite anger yet, something more dangerous. Calculation. Where am I supposed to go? Elena asked quietly. It's Christmas Eve. I'm 8 months pregnant. You're kicking me out in the snow with nowhere. That's not my problem, Nathan said, checking his watch. A Rolex she'd given him for their 5th anniversary. You have family, friends. Figure it out. But I want you out tonight. Pack a bag, take your car. I'll have movers bring the rest of your things next week. My car? Elena almost laughed. You mean the Mercedes? The one that's in your name? The one you're going to take away just like the house and the money? Nathan had the grace to look uncomfortable for half a second. Fine, keep the car. But everything else stays. Elena's phone buzzed again. Marcus. 10 minutes, they're waiting. Elena, this is history, don't miss it. She looked at the divorce papers, at Nathan's satisfied expression, at Veronica's triumphant smile, at her phone showing the most important business call of her life scheduled to start in less than 10 minutes. She looked at the Christmas tree visible through the kitchen doorway, at the guests who were laughing and drinking and celebrating while her entire world shattered. And she made a decision. I'll sign, Elena said quietly, picking up the pen Nathan had placed next to the papers. His face flooded with relief. Veronica actually clapped her hands together like a child getting a present. Elena signed her name with steady hands, her signature flowing across the page with practiced ease. The same signature that in 8 minutes would appear on a $900 million government contract. Thank you, Nathan said, and he sounded genuine. This is the right thing, Elena. You'll see. We both deserve to be happy. You're absolutely right, Elena replied, her voice eerily calm. We both deserve to be happy. And Nathan? Yeah? You have no idea what you just did. She picked up her phone, grabbed the leather portfolio with her contract documents, and walked out of the kitchen. Through the living room, where guests were singing carols. Past Nathan's mother, Linda, who was holding court near the fireplace and didn't even glance her way. Past his father, Robert, who'd never thought Elena was good enough for his son. past his sister Jennifer, who'd made passive-aggressive comments about Elena's weight gain throughout her pregnancy. She walked out the front door into the December cold. 8 months pregnant in a cocktail dress, holding divorce papers in one hand and the future in the other. Behind her, the party continued. Laughter and music and the clinking of champagne glasses celebrating a holiday while the woman of the house disappeared into the snow. Nathan returned to his guests, Veronica on his arm, already starting to tell people that Elena wasn't feeling well, that the pregnancy was making her tired, that she'd gone to lie down. In 6 weeks, at his Valentine's Day wedding to Veronica, he would discover exactly what he'd thrown away on Christmas Eve. But tonight, in the Mercedes that he didn't know was titled in a corporate name, Elena Morrison Bradford made the most important phone call of her life. "Marcus, I'm ready. Let's make history." Elena sat in her car in the driveway of her own house, hands shaking so badly she could barely hold her phone. Through the windows, she could see the party continuing. Nathan was laughing at something someone said. Veronica pressed against his side like she belonged there. Like Elena had never existed. 8 months pregnant, Christmas Eve. Divorce papers signed in her kitchen while 75 people celebrated in the next room. Her phone rang. Marcus Chen, her COO, and the closest thing she had to family since her mother died. "Elena, where are you? The senator's office is calling in 4 minutes." "I'm in my car." Her voice sounded hollow, distant. "Nathan just served me with divorce papers. At our Christmas party, Veronica's pregnant. He stole all our savings. Her voice cracked. "I don't know what I'm doing." Silence on the other end. Then Marcus's voice came through, sharp and focused. "Where's your laptop?" "In the portfolio. I grabbed it." "Good. Drive to my house, right now. You can take the call from my office." "Elena, listen to me. I know you're in shock. I know this is devastating. But in 3 minutes, you're going to sign a contract that will change everything. You need to hold it together for 30 minutes. Can you do that?" Could she? Elena looked down at her swollen belly, at the baby kicking against her ribs like she was trying to punch her way out, at the divorce papers on the passenger seat, at the house where her life used to be. "Yes," she said. "I can do that." "Then drive. I'm texting you the gate code. Pull into the garage so nobody sees you. We'll deal with Nathan after you close this deal." Elena started the car with numb fingers. The engine purred to life. This Mercedes that Nathan thought was his, that was actually titled to Morrison Pharmaceuticals and had been paid for with Elena's signing bonus from last year. She backed out of the driveway carefully, her pregnant body making every movement awkward, and drove through the snow-covered streets of Westport toward Marcus's house in Southport. The 15-minute drive passed in a blur. Christmas lights on houses, families visible through windows, opening presents and laughing. The whole world celebrating while Elena's imploded. Marcus's house was a modern masterpiece on the water, all glass and clean lines. Elena had been here dozens of times over the past year for strategy sessions, late-night planning meetings, emergency calls when something went wrong with the FDA approval process. Marcus had been her mother's business partner for 20 years. And when Margaret Morrison died, he'd helped Elena take over the company, rebuild it, and turn it into something that could compete with pharmaceutical giants. He was waiting in the garage when she pulled in, the door closing behind her immediately to shield her from view. Mid-50s, silver-haired, wearing a Montclair sweater and looking every inch the successful executive he was. "Come on," he said, opening her car door and helping her out. "We've got 2 minutes." He guided her through the house to his office, a space she knew well with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the water, its expensive furniture, its wall of screens where they'd watched stock prices and FDA announcements and competitor moves. Elena sank into the leather chair behind his desk, her body feeling too heavy, too pregnant, too overwhelmed. Marcus opened her laptop, pulled up the video call link, adjusted the camera angle so it showed her from the shoulders up, professional, composed, giving no indication that she was 8 months pregnant and had just been served divorce papers at her own Christmas party. Elena. Marcus crouched beside her chair, his voice gentle now. You are about to close the biggest deal of your career. The culmination of everything your mother built and everything you've achieved this year. Nathan doesn't get to take this from you. Do you understand? She nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Good. Now show them why Morrison Pharmaceuticals is going to save millions of lives. The video call connected. Senator Patricia Morrison appeared on screen, along with Secretary of Health and Human Services, Dr. James Chen, and 3 lawyers from the Department of Defense. All of them smiling, celebratory, ready to make this official. Ms. Bradford, the senator said warmly, Merry Christmas. We're delighted to finalize this contract tonight. Elena forced herself to smile, to project confidence she didn't feel, to be the CEO her mother had trained her to be. Merry Christmas, Senator. And please, call me Elena. I'm honored that Morrison Pharmaceuticals will be partnering with the government on this initiative. For the next 28 minutes, Elena walked through the final contract terms, answered technical questions about production capacity and distribution timelines, discussed milestone payments and FDA compliance protocols, and signed documents that transferred $900 million from the U.S. government to her company in exchange for 5 years of exclusive production rights to her cancer treatment drug. The drug her mother had started developing before she died. The drug Elena had personally overseen through 3 years of clinical trials. The drug that had a 73% remission rate for stage 3 pancreatic cancer, the same cancer that killed her mother. When the call ended, when the contract was signed and the lawyers confirmed everything was official, Elena closed her laptop and sat in silence for a long moment. You did it, Marcus said quietly. Your mother would be so proud. That's when the tears came. Not delicate, pretty tears, but ugly, gasping sobs that shook her whole body. Marcus pulled her into a hug, careful of her pregnant belly, and let her fall apart in his office, while outside, Christmas lights twinkled across the water. He kicked me out, she finally managed to say. On Christmas Eve, while I was about to sign a $900 million contract. And he has no idea. Nathan has no fucking idea what he just walked away from. Marcus pulled back, his expression hardening. Then let's make sure he finds out in the most painful way possible. Over the next hour, sitting in Marcus's office while the shock slowly wore off, Elena told him everything. The divorce papers, Veronica's pregnancy announcement, the stolen $47,000, Nathan's ultimatum to be out of the house by Monday. Marcus listened without interrupting, his expression growing colder with each detail. He doesn't know about Morrison Pharmaceuticals, Elena said, her voice still raw from crying. He thinks I've been doing freelance consulting from home, maybe making $50,000 a year. He has no idea I'm CEO of a $200 million company that just signed a $900 million government contract. Because you've been hiding it from him, Marcus said carefully. Why? Elena looked down at her hands, at her wedding ring that suddenly felt like a weight. Because my mother told me to. 3 weeks before she died, she pulled me aside and said, Elena, keep the company quiet. Don't tell Nathan about the money, about the board position, about any of it. Not until you're sure he loves you for you. Not for what you could give him. And you weren't sure? I was never sure. The admission hurt. He changed after his promotion 2 years ago. Started caring more about appearances, about status, about what his parents thought. He pushed me to quit my job, to focus on being a wife, to start having babies. And I did because I loved him. But I kept Morrison Pharmaceuticals separate because something in my gut said to protect it. Your mother's instincts were right. They always were. Elena touched her belly, feeling the baby move. She built this company from nothing. Started in a one-room lab 30 years ago and turned it into something that matters, that saves lives. And I almost let Nathan convince me I wasn't capable of running it, that I should sell it and use the money to invest in his fund. Marcus's jaw clenched. He wanted you to sell your mother's company so he could manage the money? He's been suggesting it for months. Said I was too emotional about it, too attached. That the smart financial move was to liquidate and let him grow the capital professionally. Elena laughed bitterly. He wanted me to give him $200 million to play with, and I was actually considering it because I thought he knew better than me. Elena. Marcus leaned forward. Nathan Bradford is a mid-level investment manager at a firm that handles maybe $500 million in total assets. You just closed a $900 million deal personally. You're running a pharmaceutical company that's about to be valued at over $1 billion once this contract goes public. You are so far out of his league, it's not even funny. The words should have felt good, validating. Instead, they just made Elena feel stupid for not seeing it sooner. His family's going to lose their minds, she said quietly. His mother Linda spent years making comments about how I wasn't sophisticated enough for their family. How I came from nothing. How I should be grateful Nathan chose me. Where did you come from? Queens? My mother was a chemist who worked night shifts at a pharmaceutical company while raising me alone after my dad died. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment until I was 12. Linda acted like we were peasants. Marcus smiled, and it wasn't a kind smile. Linda Bradford, who lives in a house worth maybe $2 million and drives a leased Mercedes, looked down on Margaret Morrison's daughter. That's hilarious. Why is that hilarious? Because your mother's estate, including the company and all her investments, is currently valued at approximately $400 million. You personally, as CEO, have a compensation package worth $12 million annually, plus stock options worth another $50 million. And you just closed a deal that will add $900 million in revenue over the next 5 years. Elena, you could buy Linda Bradford's house with what you made in signing bonuses this year. The numbers didn't feel real. None of this felt real. Elena was still the girl from Queens who'd worked 3 jobs to get through college, who'd married Nathan because he seemed stable and safe, who'd tried so hard to fit into his family's world. I don't know what to do, she admitted. I have nowhere to go. Nathan took our savings. I can't go to a hotel 8 months pregnant on Christmas Eve. I don't have friends. He isolated me from them over the years. My mother's gone. I'm completely alone. You're not alone, Marcus said firmly. First, you're staying here. I have 4 guest rooms. Pick one. Second, that $47,000 Nathan stole. I'll have our attorneys file criminal charges on Monday. Third, that prenup he's so confident about. It protects his assets from you, but it also protects your assets from him. He has no claim to Morrison Pharmaceuticals or this contract, none. What about Veronica? Is she really pregnant? We'll find out. I'm calling our investigator first thing Monday morning. If she's lying, and my gut says she is, we'll have proof before the end of the week. Elena nodded, feeling something shift inside her. Not quite anger yet. Something colder, more calculated. "He humiliated me," she said quietly, "in front of 75 people, at Christmas, while I was pregnant with his child. He stole our money to pay for his wedding to his mistress. He threw me out of my own house. Yes, he did. And he thinks I'm helpless, desperate, that I have nothing without him. Yes, he does." Elena looked up at Marcus, her jaw setting. "Then let's let him keep thinking that. For now, while we prepare to show him exactly how wrong he is." Marcus smiled, and this time it was genuine. Proud. "Now you sound like your mother." That night, Elena lay in one of Marcus's guest rooms, staring at the ceiling and processing everything that had happened. Divorced, pregnant, wealthy beyond anything Nathan could imagine, and completely invisible to the man who'd thrown her away. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She opened it and immediately wished she hadn't. It was a photo. Nathan and Veronica in her living room, her house, her Christmas tree in the background. They were kissing, Veronica's hand showing off an engagement ring that caught the light. Below the photo, a message. "Merry Christmas from the future Mr. and Mrs. Bradford. Thanks for signing so quickly. Saved us a lot of legal hassles. Enjoy your new life." Elena stared at the message for a long time. At Veronica's smugness. At Nathan's betrayal. At the casual cruelty of sending this photo on Christmas Eve while Elena was 8 months pregnant and homeless. She could respond. Could tell them about the $900 million. Could send screenshots of her bank accounts and company valuations. Could destroy their happiness with 3 sentences. Instead, she typed 3 words. "You have no idea." Then she blocked the number, turned off her phone, and went to sleep. Tomorrow was Christmas. And the day after that, Elena Morrison Bradford would start building the most spectacular revenge anyone in Connecticut had ever witnessed. But tonight, she just needed to rest. One day at a time, she could hear her mother's voice saying, "One battle at a time, and when you're ready, you show them what a Morrison woman is capable of." Elena touched her belly, feeling her daughter kick against her palm. "Your grandmother was right," she whispered, "and we're going to make her so proud." Christmas morning came gray and cold, snow falling softly outside Marcus's windows. Elena woke at 6 a.m. from a dreamless sleep, her body aching and her mind immediately flooding with memories of last night. Nathan's face, Veronica's smile, the divorce papers, the stolen money. The Christmas party that had become her public humiliation. She checked her phone and found 43 text messages, most from numbers she didn't recognize. Nathan's colleagues from the party, probably, offering condolences or, worse, asking invasive questions about what had happened after she left. She deleted them all without reading. There was one message that mattered, from Marcus, sent at 5:30 a.m. "Made coffee. Come down when you're ready. We have work to do." Elena showered carefully, her pregnant body making every movement awkward, and dressed in the clothes she'd been wearing last night, the cocktail dress that now felt ridiculous in the morning light. She needed clothes, toiletries, her laptop charger, 100 small necessities that were all still at the house. Nathan's house now, apparently. Marcus was in the kitchen when she came downstairs, wearing running clothes and reading something on his tablet. He looked up when she entered. "How'd you sleep?" "Better than I expected." Elena poured herself coffee from the French press on the counter. "What are you working on?" "Damage control and offensive strategy." He turned the tablet toward her. Morrison Pharmaceutical's stock is going to explode on Monday when we announce the government contract. We need to prepare a press release, coordinate with our PR team, and get ahead of any questions about your personal life. My divorce, you mean? Your divorce from a mid-level investment manager won't matter once people realize you're the CEO who closed a $900 million deal. But Nathan might try to make noise, claim he's entitled to something, paint himself as the victim. We need to control that narrative before it starts. Elena sipped her coffee, thinking. He doesn't know about the company yet. How long can we keep it quiet? Until Monday morning when we make the announcement. After that, it's public record. The business press will cover it, social media will pick it up, and within 48 hours, everyone in Connecticut will know that Nathan Bradford divorced a pharmaceutical executive worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Good. Marcus studied her face. You're calmer than I expected. I'm numb, Elena corrected. There's a difference. But underneath the numb, I'm furious. I'm humiliated. And I'm ready to make sure Nathan regrets every choice he made last night. Then let's talk strategy. They spent the next 2 hours planning. Press releases, media interviews, social media presence, legal actions against Nathan for the stolen money, custody arrangements for the baby, corporate restructuring to make Elena's ownership undeniable. Every detail mapped out with the precision of a military campaign. We should hire a private investigator, Elena said. Find out if Veronica's actually pregnant. Already done. I called my guy at 6 a.m. He'll have preliminary information by Monday, full report by Wednesday. What about Nathan's job? He works at Sterling Investment Management. Can we? Morrison Pharmaceuticals has $12 million invested with Sterling, Marcus interrupted. We can pull it? That would represent about 8% of their total assets under management. They'd notice. Elena smiled for the first time since last night. Do it, not immediately. Wait until after he gets comfortable, maybe a month. Then pull every cent and watch his bosses ask him why he lost such a significant client. Your mother would approve of that patience. My mother always said the best revenge is making them think they got away with it, then pulling the rug out when they're standing on the highest point. They worked through lunch, ordering Chinese delivery and eating while reviewing legal documents. The divorce papers Nathan had given her were actually a preliminary separation agreement, not final divorce papers. It would take months to complete the actual divorce. And during that time, Elena's lawyers would have plenty of opportunities to make his life difficult. The prenup is airtight, Marcus said, reviewing the document their attorneys had sent over. Anything you inherited or earned separately is protected. Anything he inherited or earned is protected. Only jointly acquired assets are subject to division. We have almost nothing jointly acquired. The house is in his name. My car is in Morrison Pharmaceuticals' name. Our only joint asset was the savings account he already stole from. Which means he gets nothing from you, and you get nothing from him. Clean break. Except for the baby. Marcus looked at her pregnant belly. How do you want to handle custody? Elena thought about it, her hand resting on her stomach. I want full custody. He can have supervised visitation if a court requires it. But I don't want him making any decisions about her life. He threw us out on Christmas Eve. He doesn't get to play father now. We'll make that argument. Your lawyers will file motion as soon as you give birth. With his abandonment of you while pregnant, his affair, his theft of joint marital assets, we have a strong case. What about Veronica? If she's really pregnant, if Nathan's the father, then he'll have 2 children by 2 different women, neither of whom he's married to. That won't help his case for custody. Elena finished her coffee, feeling something settle in her chest. Not quite peace, but close enough. A plan, a direction, a way forward that didn't involve being the helpless victim Nathan thought she was. "I need clothes," she said. "Everything I own is at the house." "We'll send someone to get your things. Make a list of what you need immediately, and I'll have my assistant handle it this afternoon." Nathan won't let her in. Nathan doesn't have a choice. Legally, that's still your marital home until the separation agreement is finalized. You have every right to retrieve your personal belongings. If he interferes, we'll call the police. He's going to be so angry. Good. Let him be angry. Let him make mistakes. Angry people make stupid decisions, and we'll document every one of them. By Christmas evening, Elena had retrieved her clothes, her laptop, her mother's jewelry, and every personal item that mattered to her. Marcus's assistant, a competent woman named Sarah, who asked no questions and offered no judgment, had handled it all, while Nathan was apparently out with Veronica. He'd left an angry voicemail afterward demanding to know who'd been in his house. But Elena didn't respond. She was done responding to Nathan's demands. That night, sitting in Marcus's guest room surrounded by her belongings, Elena opened her laptop and started researching divorce attorneys. Not just any attorney, she wanted the best. The kind who represented CEOs and celebrities and people with assets to protect. She found him at midnight. Richard Chen, no relation to Marcus. Senior partner at Morrison & Associates, no relation to Elena, with a reputation for destroying opposing counsel and securing outcomes that seemed impossible. His retainer was $50,000. Elena paid it online with her corporate card and scheduled a consultation for Monday morning. Then she opened a new document and started writing. Not a press release or legal brief, but a letter. To her daughter. The daughter who would be born in less than a month. The daughter who would grow up hearing about this Christmas Eve and deserving to know the truth. My dearest daughter, by the time you read this, you'll be old enough to understand what happened the night before you were born. Your father left us on Christmas Eve. He chose someone else over the family we could have been. He threw me out of our home while I was pregnant with you. But he also gave me a gift, though he didn't mean to. He showed me who I really was. Not his wife, not someone who needed him, but Elena Morrison, pharmaceutical executive, CEO, your mother, and the woman who would do anything to protect you. This is the story of how I turned the worst night of my life into the foundation for our future. This is the story of justice, patience, and showing people what happens when they underestimate a Morrison woman. I love you more than words can express, and I promise you'll never doubt your worth the way I doubted mine. All my love. Mom. Elena saved the document, closed her laptop, and finally let herself cry. Not the gasping sobs from last night, but quiet tears of grief and determination and the strange, fierce joy that came from knowing she was about to become a mother. Tomorrow would be the first day of her new life. The life without Nathan. The life where she was CEO Elena Morrison, not Nathan's wife. The life where she controlled her own narrative. She just had to survive the next few weeks, navigate the birth, close the public announcement of the contract, file the custody paperwork, build her case. And then, at the perfect moment, she would show Nathan and Veronica exactly what they'd lost. The days between Christmas and the birth of her daughter passed in a strange, suspended kind of focus. Elena stayed at Marcus's house, working from his office, rebuilding her life piece by piece while her body prepared to bring new life into the world. On Monday, December 28th, Morrison Pharmaceuticals announced the $900 million government contract. The press release went out at 9 a.m. EST, and within an hour, Elena's phone was exploding with calls from reporters, industry analysts, and business journalists who wanted to know everything about the mysterious CEO who'd closed the deal. Elena did exactly 3 interviews, carefully selected for maximum impact. The Wall Street Journal, a serious business-focused piece about Morrison Pharmaceuticals technology and the government partnership. Forbes, a profile about women in STEM, her mother's legacy, and breaking barriers in pharmaceutical research. 60 Minutes, a longer segment that would air in February, timed perfectly to coincide with Nathan's wedding. In each interview, she was professional, articulate, and deliberately vague about her personal life. When asked about being a mother, she said she had a daughter due in January. When asked if she was married, she said, "I'm focusing on my family and my company right now." She never mentioned Nathan. Didn't need to. The timeline was there for anyone who wanted to do the math. The stock market response was immediate and overwhelming. Morrison Pharmaceuticals' stock price jumped 47% in the first day of trading. Elena's personal net worth, tied primarily to her company's stock and the new contract, increased by approximately $180 million overnight. She was now worth, conservatively, $320 million. Nathan called 17 times that Monday. Elena blocked his number after the 3rd call. On Tuesday, December 29th, the private investigator Marcus had hired delivered his preliminary report on Veronica Chen. Elena read it in Marcus's office, her hands shaking slightly as she processed each page. Veronica Chen, 26, had been employed as Nathan's executive assistant for 9 months. Before that, she'd worked at 3 other investment firms, each job lasting less than a year. Each exit had been preceded by an affair with a married senior executive. She had no college degree despite claiming she'd graduated from NYU. She had $47,000 in credit card debt. And she was not, definitively not, 12 weeks pregnant. The investigator had obtained medical records, through methods Elena chose not to examine too closely, showing Veronica's last OB/GYN visit was in August. A routine annual exam. No prenatal care, no ultrasounds, no evidence of pregnancy whatsoever. "She's been lying from the start," Marcus said, reading over Elena's shoulder. "The whole thing is a con." "Nathan doesn't know." Elena's voice was hollow. "He believes her. He destroyed our marriage for a lie. Should we tell him?" Elena thought about it. Imagined calling Nathan, explaining that Veronica had played him. Imagined his shock, his horror, his realization that he'd given up everything for nothing. She could save him from that humiliation, could warn him before he married her, could be the bigger person. "No," Elena said finally. "Let him figure it out on his own, after the wedding." Marcus smiled. "Your mother really did raise you right." On January 3rd, Elena met with her attorney, Richard Chen, for the first time in person. His office was in Manhattan, a sleek space in a building that screamed money and power. Richard himself was 55, sharply dressed, and had the kind of reputation that made opposing counsel panic. "Mrs. Bradford," he said, gesturing to a chair. "Or should I say, Ms. Morrison?" "Elena is fine." "Elena, I've reviewed your case. The separation agreement Nathan gave you is garbage. Amateur work. My guess is his father's attorney drew it up based on a template. Can we fight it?" "We don't need to fight it. It's not a legally binding divorce yet. Just a separation agreement. We'll file our own divorce petition with terms that actually favor you. Full custody, child support based on his income, your complete financial independence with no claims on either side. It'll be cleaner than what he tried to give you, and it'll make him look like the fool who served his pregnant wife divorce papers on Christmas Eve. What about the money he stole from our joint account? We'll file criminal charges if you want. Or we can use it as leverage in custody negotiations. Your choice. Elena thought about Nathan in jail, about police and mug shots and public humiliation. Then she thought about something better. Leverage. I want full custody, and I want him to agree to it without a fight. Use the theft as a bargaining chip. Smart. What about the girlfriend? She's not pregnant. I have proof. But I want to wait until after their wedding to reveal it. Richard raised an eyebrow. That's cold. It's strategic. If I expose her now, Nathan might not marry her. If I wait until after, their marriage starts with a massive lie. It sets the tone for everything that comes after. I like the way you think. They spent the next 2 hours going through every detail of Elena's financial situation, her company holdings, her corporate structure, and Nathan's likely claims. By the time she left, she had a legal team that would make Nathan's family attorney look like a law school intern. On January 8th, Elena went into labor. It was 3 a.m., 3 weeks before her due date, when her water broke in Marcus's guest room. He drove her to Greenwich Hospital, called her obstetrician, and stayed in the waiting room the entire time because there was no one else. 13 hours later, at 4:17 p.m. on January 8th, Margaret Sophia Morrison was born. 7 pounds, 3 ounces, dark hair like Elena's, eyes that would eventually turn the same green as her grandmother's, lungs that announced her arrival to the entire maternity ward. Elena held her daughter for the first time and felt something shift fundamentally in her chest. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about protection. About building a life where this tiny human would never doubt her worth. Never let someone make her feel small, never sign papers that made her less than she was. "Hi, baby girl," Elena whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I'm your mom, and I promise you, I'm going to show you what it means to be strong." Marcus was the first visitor, bringing flowers and an envelope that Elena opened with one hand while holding Maggie with the other. Inside was a stock certificate. 10,000 shares of Morrison Pharmaceutical stock registered in Margaret Sophia Morrison's name. At current valuation, approximately $2.4 million. Her trust fund, Marcus said simply. Your mother set it aside before she died. She wanted her granddaughter to have security, education, freedom, whatever she needs. Elena couldn't speak past the lump in her throat. The second visitor, arriving at 7 p.m., was unexpected. Nathan. He appeared in the doorway of her private room, looking haggard and uncertain, holding flowers from the hospital gift shop. "Elena, I heard you went into labor. I came as soon as I—" He stopped when he saw Marcus sitting in the chair beside Elena's bed. "Who are you?" "Marcus Chen, COO of Morrison Pharmaceuticals. You've been calling my office trying to reach your ex-wife." "Ex-wife?" Nathan's face reddened. "We're not divorced yet. This is my baby. I have a right to be here." "Actually," Elena said calmly, her voice steady despite the fury building in her chest, "you gave up that right when you kicked me out on Christmas Eve. You can meet your daughter through your attorney. For now, I need you to leave." "Elena, please. I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you. But I deserve to see my child. You deserve nothing." Elena's voice didn't rise, didn't break. Just cold, flat fact. "You served me divorce papers while I was 8 months pregnant. You stole our savings. You humiliated me in front of everyone we knew. You chose your mistress over your family. So no, Nathan. You don't get to walk in here with grocery store flowers and pretend you care. I do care. That's my daughter. Then you should have thought about that before you threw us away. Marcus stood, physically blocking Nathan's path to the bed. You're leaving now. Security's been notified that you're not on the approved visitor list. If you want visitation rights, have your attorney contact Ms. Morrison's attorney. That's Richard Chen at Morrison & Associates in Manhattan. I'm sure you've heard of him. Nathan's face went pale. Richard Chen? Elena, what are you? That firm is... You can't afford Richard Chen. You have no idea what I can afford. Elena adjusted her grip on baby Maggie, who was sleeping peacefully despite the tension in the room. Now leave, before I have you escorted out. Nathan looked at her, really looked at her, and Elena saw the moment realization started to dawn. Something was different. Something he hadn't accounted for. Who are you? He asked quietly. I'm exactly who I've always been. You just never bothered to look. He left. Marcus closed the door behind him and locked it. That went well, Elena said. And then she started laughing. Not hysterical laughter, just the pure, exhausted relief of a woman who'd just given birth and faced down her ex-husband in the same day. You're incredible, Marcus said, sitting back down. Your mother would be so proud. My mother prepared me for this moment, all of it. She knew Nathan would leave eventually. She just didn't know when. How did she know? Elena looked down at her daughter, at this perfect tiny human who was depending on her to be strong. Because she left my father when I was 3. She knew the signs, saw them in Nathan before I did. That's why she made me promise to keep Morrison Pharmaceuticals separate, to protect myself and, eventually, to protect this little one. She stroked Maggie's soft cheek, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. Now I just have to survive the next 6 weeks until Nathan's wedding. That's when everything changes. You're really going to wait that long? I have to. If I expose him now, I look vindictive. If I let him marry Veronica, let him think he won, and then reveal everything at the perfect moment, that's justice. Your mother really did teach you well. She taught me that patience is the greatest weapon a woman can have, and that revenge is a dish best served cold. Elena smiled down at her daughter, already imagining the Valentine's Day wedding where Nathan's entire world would implode. 6 more weeks. She could wait 6 more weeks.